Hello, everyone, and welcome to our first episode of Geek Spiel on Air. My name is Chris Walters, aka Tiny Rhino. You might have heard me from Table Crashers. And I'm just going to preface the stream a little bit. What we're looking to do. So, Geek Spiel is a PG-13 stream that's inclusive of all viewers. We just are here to have a lot of fun with some tabletop RPGs and board games, whether that's joining our Discord and jumping on an impromptu game. Or just chatting about your favorite subjects. And specifically with Geek Spiel on Air, we want to just talk about everything games. And so we're going to do a little bit of that tonight. And I'm going to actually introduce my host or my panelist here. Let's start with Matt. You actually probably have seen some of the work Matt does because he's our producer and the behind-the-scenes person. But Matt, say hello to everyone.
Hello. Is my voice coming through?
It is. Yes, I hear you. And then we've got Chris Cornell, a.k.a. Digital Carnage.
Hey, everyone. How are you guys?
All right. And last but certainly not least, Gil Mello.
Yeah. Also known as the Dwarf Token.
All right. So a little bit about Geek Spiel on Air. We're going to go through a bunch of topics. This is kind of a little bit of a VOD podcast concept for us. Again, we're talking everything games. One of the things, though, we love about streaming on Twitch is that it's live. So we want to make sure that you all understand and encourage you all to know that throughout the channel, when we hop on a discussion that you're really excited about or want to throw something out there, a question maybe to some folks that call themselves quote-unquote experts on board games and tabletops, feel free to throw that into the stream chat and we'll respond to it. And that's the goal. We wanted it to be interactive. We wanted it to be a little something different from our typical podcast VOD kind of concept. So that's part of it. We also want everyone to know that this will go on a podcast later. So again, if you can't catch us live tonight, you will see us later. That's for sure. So let's start with, unless I've missed anything, anyone have anything to say before we start?
No, I think you got it for me anyway.
Okay. All right. So let's start off with, so we have a show out other than this. Probably what you all are most familiar with right now is Table Crashers. We kind of want to review last week's show. So last week, I was actually our guest. It was kind of weird to be in front of the camera instead of just the voice behind the tabletop simulator. And we played a little bit of Battlestar Galactica. And so for the folks that were able to be there, Matt was producing, but Chris was playing. What are some of your thoughts about, Battlestar? And
well, first off, you're just playing live to these folks. You said we played a little bit of Battlestar Galactica. We played 3.5 hours of Battlestar Galactica.
Right. And I don't think this game is ever not going to be at least 3 hours.
Yeah. It shouldn't be. It should be fun and exciting.
Unless somebody draw like 2 the same card and then make a mistake and reveal itself halfway in. I've seen that happen. That is very distressful. Destroys the game. It doesn't happen often, though.
Yeah, I don't actually know if we got confirmation on this, but did we know if so the two players, Jason and Frank, who are the Orsina brothers, they were both they're brothers in real life, and then they became the two Cylons for us in the game. I don't know if that got revealed in the first half. I think it was purely they got that second stage of cards, and they that's when they knew that they were Cylons. Am I wrong in that assumption?
No, I think we had no Cylons for the first half of the game. Everyone was there were accusations flying all over the place, and I know that I was personally the target of some of those, but
I don't know what you're talking about, Chris.
Right.
I don't at all know what you're talking about.
But seriously, both of them became Cylons at the same time, and it worked out. Truly brothers from another motherboard.
Reference to Frank's favorite statement, and actually we've got Jason over in chat talking about all the assumptions and that we'll never know when he got his Cylon piece, and I think I'm going to work to get it out of him. It'll be fine. Other thoughts? What do we think about Battlestar in general, or whether it was the workshop we used on Tabletop Simulator, anything last week with Table Crashers?
Well, actually, I was wondering, how did it work well to play on Tabletop Simulator? Was it I've never played on the simulator, so I was wondering how it is. not seeing the people around the table.
I definitely think that not seeing the people was a little odd, and we may have been able to either figure out who actually was a Cylon earlier if we had seen faces or
Right.
anything like that and didn't have to rely just on voice. But overall, the gameplay itself seemed really smooth, and the way we, manipulation of the board and everything, it seemed to work really well.
Yeah, the workshop we used for the game itself was just massive. It had all the components in some really creative and ingenious ways. So it was nice to be able to play around with that setup and hang out a little bit with kind of, again, just like one of the things that really stuck out to me, and you can tell this took a lot of time, was that the Raider and the Heavy Raider piece bags essentially were shaped like the ships. And I thought that was so cool to just be able to say, oh, cool, like this is what I'm looking for.
Yeah, really let you get into the theme a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. And that's a game that's already dripping with theme. Like, that's one that I think, even if you've never seen the show, you're quite aware of what the show has for you, because every crisis card is another episode.
Really, that term "dripping with theme" it cracks me up every time. It sounds terrible, but I get what
it's a euphemism or something we like to explain, I guess, as gamers. Is sometimes there's a theme that's pasted on, or sometimes that's a phrase that we'll use as well. They just take a game and put a licensing on it sometime just to make it sell. The Castle Panic games are like that. There's 3 or 4 different versions of Castle Panic now.
Right.
There's some games that would work with any theme on it. They just pick one and make it work for the game.
Yeah, like my personal favorite back here, Flux. Works with anything. You can make it.
Oh, yeah, plenty of stuff that works with Flux.
Well, and they what are there, like 100 expansions out? 7,000?
Yeah. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. And they're all just rethemings, just like Munchkin, right? I've got a couple of the Munchkins. So
yeah, for sure.
A licensing money grab.
Between Munchkin, what's the other? Love Letters. I mean, just keep spawning every once in a while.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that brings up a good point. It's not just one single game, but sometimes it's like a type of game. So there's always the defector / deceiving party games. Werewolf. I've heard it called Mafia. I've heard it called Vampire. There's all these
Secret Hitler.
Yeah.
But there are games that need that continuity. Like not every game does. Well, you would never catch me playing Munchkin, but I think it's okay for it. But like a game like Dominion, like right now, they even put I bought the new one that came out, and it just it's not as exciting anymore, but still, like, it's a game that needed that continuity. It needed those, I don't know, 10 bucks that came out, whatever.
Yeah.
Because it was part of the style of the game.
I have almost all of them there too, so.
Yeah. I can see them. You all can't see as much of Matt's screen as I can, I think, but I can see all of them at the top of his shelf here.
Oh yeah, I've got all of them except there's a Guild one that I would have it not be for the fact that it's like $80 on Amazon. I think it's out of print or something, and they're gouging the collectors on Amazon. Hard to say collector. I mean, I enjoy the game. I sleeve the game. My kids play it, so I'm a completionist. I also have 2 40-pound boxes of the Game of Thrones collectible, the CCG. So that's a big financial mistake of mine too. But
once you start, you got to finish it.
Yeah, back to that retheming. One of the things that I get, it's tough to find a balance, because when I look at Kickstarters or I look at new games coming out, I want to know, is this just a skinning or is this just a retheming of a game that I already have? So do I need to buy this copy of this game because I could get that same kind of play style with another title? So one thing I look for when I look at a Kickstarter is the uniqueness factor, right? But I always feel like it's cliche for them to say unique, right? So I have a little bit of trouble with that, because there very little is unique. There are unique implementations of tactics and of play styles and play game types, but really we've seen a lot of stuff before. This game, we played on Tabletop Simulator last weekend, and I picked a copy of it up. This is Valeria Card Kingdoms, and after I got it home, got it out. I played it. Somebody said, "Oh, well, that's just fantasy version of Machikoro." Well, I've never played, and I don't own Machikoro, but I don't know. Have you guys? Any of you played Machikoro?
Yeah.
Just
I wonder how it work a fantasy team up at Machikoro. Machikoro is fairly light.
right.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is there again, it'd be hard for us to compare the two games we haven't played, but if you like it, I like this, but there again, I bought this and the expansion, and now there's an expansion that I backed on Kickstarter, and so, but I'm all about pretty components, and the art here is fantastic. So,
Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
That's you bring that up, and art to me, like not being a huge into the tabletop world yet, like as much as you are, as much as Gil is, or even probably Chris, like the art to me is what draws me into a game. And that's why I like games like, Flux with the different themes, or, Dominion. I love Dominion. I've played it. I don't own a copy of it yet, but just like the art on the things it really just draws me into the game to where I even if I don't know the game, I now have to play that game because it just looks so beautiful.
Yeah, I've been kind of a nerd lately for some of the Kickstarters, and yes, I mean anything that's got a beautiful piece of art, but I also want something that's just going to be unique in its materials, and so I love it when they're backing me with metallic coins and varied pieces that I don't get, So I don't know. I'm a sucker for those components.
I think I spend more in extra metal coins for my games. Oh, not more, but as much as I spend in.
Oh yeah. So you talk about things that you buy just because they're beautiful. This was a Kickstarter it just came in. Anybody else get this? This is the Grim Forest.
I got it. I got mine last weekend.
Yeah. So, and I want to show this just for a second too, but I don't even need to. There are 5,000 videos of this thing out there, but this is a slip case box. So it's a fitted sleeve here, and the Druid City Games made it, and the components in there are just, the trays are all shaped and fit to lock in, and it's just a joy to play with and look at. And when I got it in, that there was a little bit of damaging on the box, and when I got it in, I opened it up, and the slip case at the top was ripped, and it was a decent sized tear. It wasn't terrible, and I thought, man, I hate to complain, so I sent in
you can have my sleeve.
Yeah. So I emailed in and I said, listen, I hate to be this, but I'm a collector. I put these things on the shelf, and it was right at the top of the front. Like the slip cover looks like a book. And so it looks like a book on the shelf. And I said, I'm not this guy. I hate to be this, but let me buy one of these sleeves. Just, I'll pay shipping. I'll pay for whatever. I just want another one of these, and it's not the end of the world. And 3 days later, it shows up in the mail. They never even replied to my email. They just sent me another one.
See, I could care less for sleeves. It's just, I think it's cumbersome. Doesn't help the game. Every time I have to sleeve it, put it out, and then it's already stuff on the table. Then I have to find a place for the sleeve as well.
Yep, but I sleeve everything. This is how I make my boxes stay vertical. I bought some brown craft paper, and I wrap it and tape around the boxes, and then slide them on the shelf like that. So everything I have is sleeved.
Yeah, we've got a question actually. Side note, and I love this. This is what's going to be great about the show, is that we've got a chat message here from Dr. PT0, aka Jason. I've revealed his secret identity. But as collectors and players, which is the bigger draw, playability or elements? And I don't know. Like, I think there's something cool about elements. There's something cool about this. I love a good, and I guess the question is, are you talking elements, Jason, of like types of game pieces, like whether it's a like a physical piece like the metal coins and stuff like that, or are you talking about something such as like it's a worker placement versus a card draw / deck builder? If you're going that second route, the way in which a game is played, whether it's a deck builder or worker placement's fun. I love that. But regardless of the game, if it's smooth and it plays well, it transitions well, like that's what's most important for me. It's always nice to have something that just fits well.
Now, replayability is very subjective to player, right? Because it all depends how much money you spend, how many games you get. I mean, if you have a small collection and that's what you are at, 10, 15 games, replayability is very important right there. But if I get 5, 6 plays out of a game, I'm happy. So it's different people to people. That's the thing.
I think Jason asked the question just right, though, is there are two different things there. He asked as collectors and players. Those two things are not mutually exclusive. So I am a collector and a player. So I'm a collector of most of this stuff behind me I bought because I thought the components were pretty, or it's a game I felt I needed on the shelf, or I needed all the versions of it or whatever. As a player, I certainly have I love deck builders. So that's the kind of game that I could sit down and play. I like that. I like engine building Euros where you get things going. And so I've got the couple that I like to play, but I like to have that collection of, I don't know who's going to show up and I don't know what they're going to want to play. And if they're going to want to play Ticket to Ride, I've got 3 versions of that. If they want to play something crunchy, I don't have it yet, but Lisboa is coming because that was fantastic and meaty.
Oh yeah, that's one of my favorite eras. I just love it.
But Gil, you combine
just try not to learn it during a
con. We played 7 hours of that, I think. But Gil, you combine the collector and the player there because you got it because it's a Brazilian city. It's a Brazilian event, right? So there's
Lisboa is in Portugal, but it's
Portugal. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Portugal they were the colonizers down in Brazil. So
there were some other reasons that you got it, but you also wanted to get it to play it. But you also spent the extra money for the deluxe version and then put the metal coins in it because you wanted that tactile, fun kind of thing.
Hunt down promo cards, all that for that game, yeah. And it's Vitor Lacerda, so it's always fine by me. The guy is amazing.
And so that just stems like I am one that will like. I want to play the game. I'm a player more than a collector, but I'm also the type of person that will tend to spend a little bit more on the game if it comes with something a little bit extra. Something that makes it a little bit more unique than what the standard game is. And as long as it doesn't change the core gameplay, I'm happy to spend that little bit extra to do so.
Yeah, if there's a deluxe version, I'll grab it for sure.
Yep, that's the Kickstarter magic is you can get the game for $20 if you want it, but for $35 you get these little plastic pieces or these metal coins, and then there's an add-on for a playmat. And
right. Well, and then you get all the stretch goals, that come with it.
Yeah.
But we have to be careful not to get caught on that and pass that down to people that are new to the hobby. Like we need to make sure that is a extra of the hobby. That's when you're trying to be more depth into the hobby. You don't need all that to have fun and to play a game.
Right.
You are fun and nice, and you should get it if that's what you wanted. We can say that's necessary, right? I think that's what I want to say. It's just
hey, Chris. Chris, he teed up that segue, man. Take it. That's a great segue into our Twitter poll, right?
Right. Yeah. So one of I guess the little bit of behind the story is that I've been getting my group of friends, whether it's up here where I live and back home, where my parents live, hanging out, in central U.S. and in Missouri in particular. And I've been getting them started on games because I have my core gaming group of folks that we play the crunchy Euros, the games with so many rules that you take just 3 play sessions to even figure out the basics. But I wanted to get them in and so I could play games more often. And, the trouble was, how do I get folks excited about board games? Because I think, it feels like you had 2 types of people, the people who were super stoked about Monopoly and all the board games when you were a kid. And then there were some who would never touch a board game with like a 10-foot pole. And so, what are those gateway games or those games that really get someone excited about playing it and playing board games and wanting to try new things. And so we did throw out a Twitter poll. Matt threw this out there. The couple of games that were initially on there were Ticket to Ride, Carcassonne, and Splendor. But then we had a bunch of others. And so I wanted to open to you all first is, what do you use as the gateway games for folks? If you're going to set some new players up to play board games with you, what do you use?
I'll go first. For me, it's clearly Settlers. Settlers of Catan is, besides there's a local connection to it, Mayfair and the Catan Studios is from Charlottesville, so it's close by here. So if I've got some new people coming to game, hey, this company's from Charlottesville. One of the personal hobbies that I have, and one of the personal volunteer things I do with Cub Scouts, actually Pete Fenlon, who founded that game company here, he is also involved in that. So there's a lot of crossover friends there. Oh, hey, this is Pete's game kind of thing. And it's approachable. It's strategic enough and it's Euro-y enough for someone to realize that there's more to game beyond the roll and move kind of games. But then the randomization, the dice rolling in there, which is what the heavy gamers hate about it, is that you can have the best strategy in the world and lose because your numbers don't come up, right, or the robber gets you or whatever. The thing that the heavy gamers hate about that is what I love about it, and what makes it approachable is that I have played that game 100 times, and I can sit down at the table with 5 people who have never played it, and that balances me out. So my superior strategy and experience in this game does not mean I'm going to win every one of them. So it's the balancing factor. So, and my wife knows how to play it and enjoys it. So when we have people over to the house, she doesn't want to learn a new game. She wants to play something she knows, so I can teach just others with it. So it's, I've probably sold more copies of that game for Mayfair and now Asmodee than any other game out there, because people come over, we play it, and they go home and they're like, "Wow, this was $50 at Target." Yes, it is, but it's worth it. So,
right. Matt, you were just telling me before we went on air tonight that speaking of gateway games, getting even the young ones involved in Settlers, and you all did that the other night.
Yeah,
right?
We actually played that game this afternoon, 2 hours ago, and my 6-year-old daughter played with us. My son, he was probably 6 or 7 when he played for the first time, and she sat down and she sat next to me, and we helped her with some strategy. Well, the next thing you want to do is build a road, probably, and then she would work the resources and stuff. And she came in second place, third place. She had 8 victory points when the game ended. So
Right.
So she enjoyed it, and she is ready to play again.
Nice. What else? For the other two, what are your all's gateway games?
Well, I got unfortunately for me, probably lose my gamer card here for never having played Catan as much as I would love to, and I'm gonna actually have to go pick up a copy of it and start playing. But mine is actually Splendor. It's easy to play. It's easy to understand. It gets people out there playing something it's got some nice tactile feel to it. Those chips are really nice to hold, and it's just, there's so many good things about it that I have a hard time vocalizing it. And there's not a huge math element to it. It's simple math, but it just has that nice feel to it to get playing.
Yeah, your nerd card is not in jeopardy here. That's a great gateway game. There again, it teaches abstract. It teaches the set collection kind of philosophy, or that game style. And yeah, no, that's a whole lot better than. Well, I don't say a whole lot better. I would rather if you said that than you say, well, I just get Flux out, and we go with that. So, but Flux is a great game for what it is. We kind of kick it a little bit just because they have over licensed that, and they just extract more money from the marketplace.
Yeah, I own about 6 different decks.
I own 3 or 4 of them. So so there are
dice
some
and the board game.
Yeah, so there's something appealing about that for all of them.
Right, and what I like about Splendor is I feel like some of the board games I get folks into initially don't like. I feel like engine creating games are some of the hardest ones to be like, this is how you do it. Like Dominion, I love Dominion, and I'm not going to put the people that I am first introducing board games into Dominion, because I feel like it's a hard just to like perfect that engine is extremely difficult sometimes for folks. And I think Splinter is like a really easy way to get someone into kind of that engine creation piece.
See,
Right,
for
yeah.
Dominion is one game that the app killed it for me. I play the app like at the airport when I'm traveling. I played so much that I just don't feel like going to the board game anymore. I just got so much into the app is so well rounded, so well done, that when I want to play board games, I ended up want to play something else. But I think as a gateway game, it's a great game. Yeah, I think there's a lot of elements that you can teach. There's several mechanics there that are cool for people that are coming in.
Well, for me, Dominion was made better by the app that helps you. You put in your expansions, and then it randomizes and tells you what 10 cards to put out. Because that was like half the time for me was, what do I want to put out?
Right.
Wait a minute, I need a witch. No, I don't want the curses because so there was
Right.
the app was great for that.
Yeah, for sure. And creates a
my-
little balance. I feel like that was one hard piece about Dominion is creating a balance of, again, allowing folks to try a couple different techniques, create a couple different engines with that set of 10 cards.
Yeah, I think for me the best gateway game is definitely Twilight Imperium. So
TI4, yeah.
no, it changed for me. It depends if I know the group or not. I try to cater. There's a lot of new games. I mean, there are some games that are classic, right? Ticket to Ride. There's never a mistake to introduce people to. I do bring Takenoko a lot. Has several difficult mechanics but made it easier on that game. Emotap is another light game with a lot of strategy. So it depends who you're playing with. Ethnos, which is a game that I shamefully don't play as much as I wish, but Ethnos is another easy, great game to introduce to people. So it varies little to little, but yeah, I think the motto of all gateway games, if you can say that, would be Ticket to Ride, in my opinion. But I tend not to teach people that game for some reason, although I think I should more. I have several easy games. Green Forest is probably going to be one. That game that Matt just showed. It's an excellent game, but it's fairly simple. I hate to call it overproduced. I will use the word overproduced, but lightly here. I just think that there's too much stuff for a simple game like that. But it's the kind of thing that maybe it's a great game to bring it out and teach people, and people will be like love the miniatures. Will be able to play with the miniatures, and also very simple mechanic and very simple gameplay. I think I haven't tried that with new game, but I think it's going to be a game that's going to be good for that.
In a defense for the overproduced, simpler games, I think Century Spice Road is a great Splendor-esque set collection game.
Oh, I forgot that's excellent. Yes.
Yeah, and I bought the Golem edition, so it's just a different theme, and it's just fantastic. But I specifically went after that version because of its appearance, because of how it looked. And we talk about on the Twitter poll, Ryan Cottrell, the host of our other show, Table Crashers, he said that his gateway game is Cards Against Humanity. And there's a reflex of like, well, that's really kind of a bar game, a party game. Anything that gets people playing something is really a gateway to the hobby, right? You're probably not going to have someone over for dinner. You're going to play 4 hands of Cards Against Humanity, and they're going to go home and buy Lisboa off of Amazon, right? They're not going to make that bridge, but the people they're coming over and they're having a good time and they're having a great experience. And when they come to my house, I'm the game guy. I got to get something out that we're going to have a good time on. And if I think we're having wine and this is the kind of crowd that's what they're going to want to play, I would get something that light and that simple and that sensory, kind of out, because I want them to have a good time first. The Grim Forest, if I think they're willing to do something like that, I want them to see how cool some of these components are. I want that to be what they take away from that. So not oh my gosh, we played this heavy game and my head spun and so I don't know. I guess it just means is that every gateway situation for me is different. I'm the sommelier of board games. I want to know. Well, you hate dragons? All right. Well, I'm not going to get a fantasy themed game out. So
Yeah, no, I agree with that statement, man. About sometimes is the party game the best game, and yeah, it's not the crunchy euros I think folks are looking for, but one of the games I got one of my groups started with is Werewolf, and it's a super easy party game that we can all do drinking beer and hanging out, and no one has to move, no one has to do anything. We're all sitting on couches, and so I mean that one was fun, and I've gotten folks to say, wow, okay, like let's spend some more time doing those party games. And I think that's part of it. The other thing too, and I mentioned this in the Twitter poll, is cooperative games. I think one of the barriers I see for folks is, I'm getting into board games for the first time and I either don't want to actively go against someone, which, there are those games that have that, you're talking about Dominion with the Witch, like there's that active attack component. And no one wants to be the person that's like, well, to win and be strategic, I have to constantly attack you. I mean, I'll do that with my crunchy Euro board gamers all the time, but with my, friends that I don't want to really be mad at me at the end of the night, I don't want to do that. And so being able to, be cooperative, and one, the option to attack them is not available. And the other barrier I see for folks is rules. I think it's so hard sometimes to, especially when we're doing the engine-based games and things like that, to be like, all right, let me teach you all the nuances of this game. And when you're in a cooperative, it naturally just fits. Like you can just, Pandemic or gosh, now I'm trying to Forbidden Island and Forbidden Desert, like are three really easy, simple games that you can play as a group. They don't have a whole lot of mechanics to them, especially the Forbidden games. But they introduce those pieces and you're on the same team. So you all get to talk about it and you all get to say, okay, this is, maybe this is a suggestion. I actually jumped into a card set, a deck builder game, Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle, with a group of friends, and they loved it because not only was it thematic, which I think also helps. They were all a bunch of Harry Potter nerds. But they also got that opportunity we were all in it together. And so, they didn't know all the rules, but I could teach them that. And they didn't know all the strategy, but I can teach them that. And now when we get into box 7 of the game, 7 games down the road, they're experts. They know how to play better than I do. And so it's nice to be able to start them and kind of get that ball rolling with that cooperative aspect.
And they're not coming at you later about not telling them the specific rule that allowed you to win.
Right. Like I didn't do that for sure.
I'm actually playing the Harry Potter with my wife and my 10-year-old, and we're having a blast. Mainly because we just came back from the Harry Potter world, so they were on that vibe. So I said, right opportunity to finally get that box out of the shelf.
There you go.
Right.
Caught them on the hype, and they really enjoy the game. I think it's a fun game because it's also there's the only thing I always worry about co-op is getting an alpha gamer on the game, and I know how to do it. But I don't think it happens as often as people think. But it does happen, yeah.
Right, for sure.
Well, I'm always looking for games to, co-op because to get my wife more into gaming, whether it be a video game or a card game or a board game or something like that. We're always looking for something where we're not pitted against each other because we both get very competitive.
Right.
And I'd love to get that, and that's why I picked up, specifically I picked up Hero Realms, the co-op, because I feel that that's something to get her kind of into the fantasy part of stuff, but yet not be competitive. And she's totally sworn off, like she will never play D&D because she's like, I can't do a role-based thing. So,
right.
But
another problem I have with co-op many times, most of them are very random system of winning, and that bothers me a little bit. Like flip of a card, a roll of a die.
Right.
So I hate when the game doesn't mitigate my chance of winning or lose. It's just pure luck. So that's the only other issue I have sometimes with co-op. But there's a lot of good ones out right now.
Right. Well, and I feel that way with Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle. By the time you get to the end of that game, you've added like 1 billion cards to this deck that you purchase from, and there's no way to cycle through that any faster. There's no like discard mechanic, a clear the board mechanic, at least that I've ever played with. If I missed that part of the rule, then my bad. But it's hard because there's always that card you're like, I really wish would come out, and you'll never see for 6-7 games, and then finally at the very end, and it's not even a playable card now. That's why something like now I'm trying to think, Puerto Rico or Dominion, those games, they're not cooperative, but those games where you can select and specifically, I've earned this much, I take this specific piece. I mean, it makes that engine building a little bit easier, and again, it takes that randomness out of it.
Here's a game that I've been bringing out since you talk about the deck building. I bought Clank on Space. I had got a Clank and bought Clank on Space, and I thought 3 different new groups of players. And I was surprised how it played well with new people. It was an awesome way to teach the deck building system in a more likely, casual way with the board and everything. I was very surprised how well it's working with people that are not, avid board gamers.
I've had some success with Clank as well too, with non-gamers or people who aren't familiar with this style of gaming. And I think the trick there is that it's an overwhelming setup. All the little tokens on the board, all the choices that you have, all the visual input. But when you start to play, you get 5 cards and you've got one thing you can do. Right.
Yes.
So your decision making on your turn is not overwhelming. Well, what do you want to do? You want to move? Okay. And then, that's that role playing game, right? Then things get more complex as the game goes on, but you're warming into it. So I think that's really the beauty of that game in particular, deck building as a style as well.
It's interesting that you bring up that spot where you only have a certain amount of things that you can do on your turn. This game looks so massive and so overwhelming, but yet when you boil it down to its simple mechanics, it works.
Yeah,
and that's kind of the way I felt when we played Battlestar. Chris was going through and telling me all these rules, and I was reading, and I was watching these videos, and then when we actually got down to playing, it was simple.
Right.
Yeah.
Your aspect in the game is quite small in what you need to do, but yet when you look at the whole picture, you're making an impact.
Right.
Yeah.
There's so much moving, but it's just your part is so small sometimes.
Right.
Yeah. And some games are not very forgiving. If you need to change your strategy midstream, in Settlers is a good case, because someone else drops a settlement in on top of you or cuts your road off or whatever, you can really get sunk and you can really be ticked because you've invested in going towards that, and now you have to double back. In those deck builders, wow, everybody's doing the same thing. You can shuffle and change your strategy and kind of find a different way to win. I like games with several paths to victory.
Right. Actually, I want to pull out a chat here, a question. Torquemada put the kind of a variation on this gateway, but who is it that introduced you to board games? And that's really funny to me, or tabletops, whatever, gaming. Mine, Torquemada says is his father. Mine was too, but my dad and we played chess. Like we went as simple as possible, right? Well, simple, as traditional as possible. And that alone was just something that we spent hours doing, and just over and over and over again. And I think that ability to get invested in just this social aspect, and that's what's hard. I think Chris brought this up earlier in the piece, that those Battlestar was really fun, and it missed that aspect of all being around a table in person, and being able to look at people and call them a toaster and see how they reacted. That's what I loved about chess, is that I could literally just get in someone's head and see how they reacted. And so that's what I love about board games. And he was really the first person that got me into board games.
I was hesitant on the tabletop simulator for a while because of that very thing. It's sitting across the table and getting to know these people, and then, oh, wait a minute, Gil is usually loud and stomping around, and now he's quiet. He's probably a Cylon. There's that meta aspect to a regular gaming group. But after our experience the last couple of weeks, I'm warming to that platform. I think there's a lot of fun to be had there.
Yeah, for me, it's one of my friends. He lives in Granada, that's the only way. So Brian from the Secret Cabal podcast. So he lives and we got together. We shared a hotel at Origins last year, and then he got me into this. And for him, it's the only way to play out. So I decided to come out, and I was surprised how beautiful the pieces are and how awesome the gameplay was. I see working well with some games, but not as well with others. That's the only thing. You have to pick the right game. But I know they were playing Fist for Odin the other day, and they said I had a blast. And that's not a small game to play.
Yeah, tabletop sim really, you're right. There are certain games that are definitely not going to work very well. But with video technology like what we're using today and other things, you can really incorporate a lot of aspects that you're missing from seeing. But it's never, I don't think it's ever going to replace, just me sitting across the table from, Chris Walters here and him calling me a Cylon, and I don't, I don't overreact. It's never going to replace that interaction. But as far as the back to the question though, what it was, who got into gaming? For me, of course, I played the normal standard like Uno, Monopoly, stuff like that with my family and stuff. And my aunt got me into something a little bit bigger, but ultimately getting me into games was back in high school. A friend of mine, Robert Longsworth, he brought in this really simple card game called WWE Raw Deal. Silliest game ever, play a card where you jump from the top rope, and if they don't counter it, you land a hit or something like that. But that aspect of it, that it was simple to understand, you played through and just get it. I really started to latch onto the card game aspect, and then from there, I just went on and on and on. But before that, my only experience with card games was Magic the Gathering, and that I'd been playing since it was an alpha with my uncle, so I hadn't had any other interaction with card games or other types of board games or anything until high school. So that's me. I don't know about you guys, but
it's interesting because Magic is such a unique experience. It's such a direct combat. The only way for me to win is for you to die.
Yeah.
And so that kind of I enjoy some of those kind of games, but I can get equally frustrated, and that certainly seems like the king of the pay to win kind of style of games. But
the original pay to win, right?
Yeah. So, but and that seems
you don't win.
That's right. And in that same sense, though, there are lots of people that can break that mold, but it certainly the law of averages seems to back it up. We don't have to spend a whole lot of time on it because I've been gaming for quite a while. But in chat here, Clapjaws is the guy who got me into gaming of this style 25 years ago. We used to work together at a company, and that's probably not 25 years ago, was it? Mid 90s. So yeah, closing in on it. In Winchester, Virginia, up here, and we just take our lunch break, and out comes Guillotine, and away we go. $18,000 later, 20 years later.
Yeah, I try not to get to CCG or LCG games because I know how I am. I made a mistake of playing X-Wings last night, and I spend my day online today.
Yeah.
Looking for X-Wing lot on eBay.
Yeah.
But I can't get to those things. I don't go there anymore because.
Yeah. Now, see, X-Wing I can get into because the LCG component is better, right? So the CGGs, you buy packs and you cross your fingers. The LCG I can get into. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff to buy in Star Wars X-Wing, but there's an end to it. You can get there.
Right.
You can get there. You haven't seen my friend's bag. It's just ridiculous. I don't know.
Transitioning just a little bit, one of the other things we wanted to talk about was I guess it's not. Yeah, it was yesterday. Yesterday was the first for us. We hosted a tournament. Matt, you want to talk a little bit about the Royal Tournament and how? And Carnage did a lot with this as well. You all want to speak to what we did and how it went?
It was sometimes you fly trial balloons on a Twitch channel, and when you're trying to come up with new ideas, everybody's looking for that unique thing. But we just wanted to do something fun, and like Wednesday, I think we were going to do a tournament on Saturday, but we had, I don't know, 7, 8 folks show up, and we played Royal. Digital Carnage, Chris Cornell, he set it all up on Tabletop Simulator, and we played the card game. It's on Kickstarter, and you'll see if you're in chat, Dr. PT0 is the game designer there. But we played all afternoon. I think we started at 2 o'clock, and had a rules session, and we finished about 8:30 with the final table last night. And I could not have had a better time. In fact, I could have had a better time if I was playing instead of producing, because it was a lot of balls to organize, and it's a lot of things to juggle. But for me, we called it learn, play, win, because I think everybody's having Magic the Gathering tournaments, and this was an opportunity for us to bring a new game that's on Kickstarter or a new game that's in development and bring it out and bring some people in and play something new. So, Jason and Alicia at the Royal Card Game, they were welcoming and willing to let us do it, and I think we all had a good time. And the final winner there was
me. Yeah, no, I had a great time. I absolutely loved it.
Everybody loves to win.
Right. I was literally talking to Matt afterwards, and I said, "Hey, man, I think that went really well." He was like, "Yeah, you did. You won." But no, I thought what was so cool about it, was just getting to have so many people from our Discord be a part of it, not just from the 10 people played, but it's Jason Alicia's game, and Chris did all the digital artwork conversion for us into both Tabletopia and TTS. And so, Matt producing it, while yes, I agree with Matt, it was definitely a lot of juggling that was happening, and I did very little. But to be able to be a part of that, where like all of us were doing something and all of us made it what it was exciting. So,
and I think it comes back to what Chris Cornell was saying, is that Tabletop Simulator isn't going to replace that sitting around the table playing something face to face with people, but it's going to augment it. And here's an opportunity to find a game that I can go out and buy a copy of on Kickstarter now. So here's an opportunity to test something out, and this is the virtual game shop. Demonstrate the game, figure out if we like it, and have some good times with our friends. This whole thing with the Discord is growing beyond my wildest dreams, because it's going to turn into this thing where this is not a good game night for me, but Gil wants to play something. So Gil can go into the Discord and see if there's anybody there that wants to play something. They know who he is. He knows who they are. And hey, let's get on Tabletop Simulator and play something. And it's an opportunity to create those kind of community-based games, or those kind of games, without having to get in the car and drive to the game shop and hope there's somebody there.
Right.
I played a game with a guy using Oculus Rift. And I'm telling you, when that thing becomes cheaper and more popular, I can see the whole virtual board game getting a really... There you go. See?
Yeah, Chris has got it.
I can see that. Because this guy just have a pair of gloves and that thing. And so we were all struggling with shortcuts and stuff, and he was able to, just move around the pieces. Yeah, that's it. I think
controls,
when that thing becomes more affordable, that's gonna really help the whole. I know Catan, they launched. They had like a room in a couple of the board game conventions where they have a group of guests invited, and so they had a virtual Catan, which they want to market next year. Which you play, Catan. You see the skies around you, and so if a queue pusher card trading and other games like that, you can hold the cards in your hand, or you can. I think that I see this thing growing by leaps on the next couple years as technology like the Oculus Rift gets more affordable, or those companies start launching their own.
Right.
It's actually become quite more affordable now with the release of the CV1 being a year old now. They've dropped the whole price for the kit You get the touch controllers and the thing for like $400. It's not really bad anymore.
Well,
But-
at that point, it's like a gaming console, or it's
Right.
a cheap PC. You know, like that's what folks are spending on what we consider everyday technology already.
Yeah.
Well, and if it integrates with Tabletop Simulator, it doesn't matter what you're playing, you can use it on that, right?
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
anything.
for me, that was like, it seemed like, oh well, this whole thing is going to be held back because nobody's making any content. Well, all it has to do is integrate with a few platforms, and immediately all the content that was already there is already
It's at its fingertips. Yeah.
And
in the
getting
Twitch
a
chat.
3D, getting a 3D scan of your face so you can actually see each other and stuff like that. You know.
Yeah. There's 3D image of somebody else's face. I don't, if I'm going to be, if I'm
going to be
be
Schwarzenegger today.
Yeah, that's right. Torquemada in the chat was saying a good point. With kids, it's hard to get out, so having a chance to play with more than just myself or a PC was great. So that was one of the things he appreciated about the tournament. So
Yeah, the tournament was definitely a lot of fun, and it really. I'd like to point out with Royal, I can't say enough great about the game because we've Matt and I, we've been with them for a while trying to help them, shape the game a little bit better, make it more approachable. When we first got a hold of it, there was like a lot of things that we were trying to break the game, and we did so succeed. We broke it very much so, and then they took our feedback and sorted it out, and that's what we played with yesterday was the new version, and it's really an equalizer because here I am. I've played dozens and dozens of games. Frank's played probably hundreds. Jason's played hundreds because he designed it, and here Chris is, never having touched it before, comes in and wins the tournament.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just that good, but yeah.
Yeah. But being a part of this. Being a part of the development cycle is exciting because I've got lots of games on the shelf, but being part of one as it develops is fun. And I mean that's why people back Kickstarters, right? They want to kickstart something that's new and coming and fresh. This is actually before that we get to play around with that. I know at conventions at PAX U there was the Unpub room was probably one of the better attended things. People want to go in and play that little card game or see the new thing and see how. And maybe get inspired for their own game creations as well too. So I know that's a big draw. In the tournament yesterday, Otter Cat, you'll start to see him in the Discord as well too. He's working on developing a game that's going to kickstart here later this year. So it's just there's just always somebody doing that kind of thing, and you can engage with that and be a part of the process.
Well, and what way to take that developer mindset, like ultimate. I don't know. At some point, I think, what's the next board game that's going to challenge me? What's the next part that's going to challenge me? Because, again, I claim to be a little bit of an expert in board games. And I don't know. Yes, the new mechanics and everything. But like Matt said earlier, there's only so many new things. To be part of that developing side, I think is really where I'd want to go next, just to be able to say, like, let's create something, or let's critique something, or let's develop and make it stronger from before it even becomes a finished product. Like that seems like a cool opportunity that both of you got to be with Royal.
Now there's a lot of Kickstarters. I know Isaac Childress, the guy who designed the Gloomhaven. He had the new Gloomhaven game that's more Euro style was on Tabletop Simulator, and I've seen more and more Kickstarters putting their games on a Tabletop Simulator for people to try and play it, and that is a really good thing for them to do, because I think one of the biggest flaw of Kickstarters, many times they don't care as much for the rulebook. It's all about that stretch go, and and I think it's cool when they do that, because they can just pull it out afterwards. That doesn't need to be there forever, or start selling. It's another media for them, and also an easy way to get people play testing their games. Mainly if it's a popular game on Kickstarter. And I know for me, like, I have not played D&D till last year. Last year was the first time I played D&D, and the only reason I'm being able to play is because Roll20. Right. I never had before. I couldn't commit with my friend. I travel for works and stuff like this, and now my group have a campaign. I'm sitting on my hotel at night, playing D&D out of my computer because I can be anywhere. So I think those things, I scrutinize people when they start complaining too much about technology, and I think it's the other way around. We should try to see everything in the good side and try to merge everything. I don't think it's going to kill anything, but I think it's actually going to help it.
It's
It's
an asset.
Yeah.
I mean, as long as it's treated as an asset, you're right. It's not going to kill anything. It's an extra tool in the development. Just like in chat, Jason pointed out, it's like, hey, it's going to be the next thing before you go to the print play, so that you can have it there.
Exactly.
I mean, I had never before been interested in designing my own game or anything like that. But working with Jason, Alicia, and Matt, and coming into this whole world here, I actually have plans for my own game, and I'm working on those. And by no means am I revealing any details to anyone right now. But
because we will break that game. We will
they're
break
going to
it.
break it before it even
immediately.
starts.
Yeah, or hurt your feelings.
Right? No, it's going to be great. Like, because I've never even thought about that I could possibly do that. Now that I've had a lot of work in Tabletop Simulator, I've had work in Tabletopia, and I get all these ideas, and I see what works in other games and what we're doing here and what people are liking. I actually feel more confident that I can potentially bring something to the public, even just digitally, that people are going to enjoy. I can see that, and it gives me belief for us all.
And I tell you, I see so many people that do this. It's accessible. Kickstarter makes it available to everyone.
Right.
You can have an idea and run with it. It is hard to do it right. And it's so fun to watch Kickstarters where people do it right. I mean, Jamie Stegmaier really kind of set the bar for how to handle that and how to market themselves. And having some great game design, making some strong games helps too. So, but yeah, a lot. But you can see some games that don't. And you can see the difference between the two. And some of it's marketing, some of it's desire, some of it's maybe a game is just not good. But there are all those pieces that just because I have a great idea for a game, it makes me afraid to even try, because there's just so much good stuff out there that I'll just continue to play everybody else's great ideas.
You gotta to do that kind of thing, to design board games, you gotta have a thick skin, because you have to put your game out there. You have to accept the criticism, because if you're putting your games for other people to play just to get affirmation, that's never going to work for you. You need to be sure that you put it in there, and somebody says you might not agree with everything, but all of a sudden you don't agree with anything. Maybe you have to watch yourself, and that's a lot of times what happened with game designers. Sometimes they play test their game, but they take no feedback.
Right.
Yeah.
That's always worrisome at some point.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, you got to have a thick skin. Just like, us here being on the internet. We're on the internet. We got to be able to take the criticism. If you can't, I mean, people are going to pick on you just because you're there, not because anything's wrong. Just, they're jealous.
No one's picking on this, Chris.
Right?
Seriously.
I
all
love
of this
your
beard here is, no.
My beard doesn't compare.
I'm going to have to work a little harder on that. My
let's not talk.
My face here.
This is like 4 days no shaving, so there's not going to be.
So that's why we call the brewer's beard, Chris.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
This was cut a week ago, and this is so it was about 2 inches longer. It was much more than this right now.
When you need a beard, you just go, and it just pops out.
I just shave and wake up in the morning, and this is what it looks like, so.
I hate the whole shaving thing. See the problem, and it's like not much here, and here is like, and then there's my. I don't know if they can see because it's small, but I have like 3 different colors on my beard, and and now you guys starting old. You get on the second half of the 40s, start getting towards the 50s, like the eyebrows start. I start. The other day was like, I clipped this. Oh no, I'm turning into my grandpa.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm getting the gray in here, and I'm only, I'm in my early 30s.
Hey, just so you know, Twitch chat is trying their hardest to stay PG-13. They're struggling with this line of discussion.
Yeah,
You can do it. You can do it,
trolling us
Frank.
as much as possible, or our beards. I don't know which one.
Yeah, it could go. It could go. We'll go off the air and we'll ask him.
Next time we need to get Matt a fake set of
fake
beard and
beard.
glasses.
Oh well, I could do some. I
You're-
could do some graphics.
Oh yeah, you're the only one not
and
wearing
some
any
glasses. I mean,
Right.
I got contact lenses. Want me to take them out? Oh, don't touch your eye. Oh, that's gross. Don't do it.
Yeah, my newborn kid has a beard, Matt. So
And so does your wife. But
on that note, so I don't get any trouble tonight. Thank you all so much. We're hitting at about our time. We don't really have a stop part, but we could go all night, and we want to have more shows. So let's keep some content for later. On behalf of Matt, myself, Chris, and Gil, we thank you all for joining us. Again, join us on the Discord. If you want to be a part of this community, you want to potentially get involved in Table Crashers or these random board game nights, hop on that Discord. That's where it's doing. Our link is below in the Twitch chat. So make sure you hop on that and join us. We're pretty fun. We think we're fun group that's meant to just include folks and have a good time. Board games are our life, and that's what we want to highlight. So on behalf of, again, everyone and Geek Spiel on Air, that's it. Have a good night, and we'll see you Wednesday, hopefully, but for sure next week.